This video presents the single loop control configuration for the off-gas process. The configuration consists of 4 loops that must be tuned one at a time. A sequence will be proposed for tuning the loops, but the actual tuning will be the subject of subsequent videos. This and subsequent videos illustrate the application of various principles of process control to the off-gas process described in the previous video. None of these principles will be explained in detail. This permits the videos to focus on how the principles are applied to the off-gas process. Explanations are available separately, such as in my book, Practical Process Control, whose focus is loop tuning and troubleshooting. The primary objective of the controls for the off-gas process is to maintain the off-gas temperatures above the dew point. 2 control variables pertain to the off-gas temperatures. Temperature at baghouse inlet. Normal operating value is 70 degrees Celsius. Temperature at scrubber duct inlet. Normal operating value is 80 degrees Celsius. The off-gas process envisions that a variable flow of constant temperature hot air will be injected into the off-gas at 2 points. 2 additional control variables pertain to the hot air. Hot air temperature. Normal operating value is 210 degrees Celsius. Hot air pressure. Normal operating value is 2.5 millimeters of mercury. To change the heat input, the flow of hot air is varied by changing damper openings. As the flow of hot air changes, the firing rate to the furnace changes so as to maintain a constant hot air temperature. The overriding principle behind most single-loop control configurations, at least as proposed, can be summarized as control each variable with the nearest valve. This gives the following configuration for the control variables pertaining to the off-gas process. Baghouse inlet temperature. Control by adjusting the opening of the hot air damper at the inlet to the baghouse. Scrubber duct inlet temperature. Control by adjusting the opening of the hot air damper at the inlet to the scrubber ducts. For the hot air, the fuel gas valve has no effect on hot air pressure. The only viable option is as follows. Hot air pressure, control by adjusting the opening of the fresh air damper. Hot air temperature, control by adjusting the opening of the fuel gas valve. Those who develop single-loop configurations may protest having their work described by the simplistic principle, control each variable with the nearest valve. But having looked at single-loop configuration for 50 years, it seems to turn out that way a high percentage of cases. Exceptions are rare. And to be fair, such configurations usually work. But an occasional one does not. The single-loop configuration for the off-gas process is one of these. The 4 loops in the single-loop configuration must be tuned one at a time. That raises the question as to the order in which these loops must be tuned. In practice, one tries to tune loops at the first opportunity, and often opportunities arise during the commissioning of the equipment. In this case, the hot air pressure loop can be tuned as soon as the blowers for the fresh air and the off-gas are in operation. To proceed further, the furnace must be in operation. With the blowers and the furnace in operation, the hot air temperature loop can be tuned. Once the hot air loops are tuned, the next step is to tune the 2 temperature loops on the off-gas. In tuning these loops, it seems logical to go with the flow of the off-gas. Start by tuning the temperature controller for the off-gas entering the baghouse. Once that loop is tuned, Then proceed to the temperature controller for the off gas entering the scrubber ducts. The next video examines the tuning of the hot air pressure controller and then the hot air temperature controller.